Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for the latest chapter of Akatsuki no Yona, also known as Yona of the Dawn. Yona of the Dawn. Chapter 257, entitled A Fire Ignites in My Heart. I don't get this chapter. Nope, I got theories. I got a million ways this could go. But I'm just going to straight up tell you guys and gals. What did I just read? Plus, on top of that, we ain't getting shit till June. So, a lot of people are like, oh my god, it's the death of me. And I'm like, okay, if it said August, then I'd be like, wow, that's a big break. But it's literally just a month and a little bit. It's not crazy, you know. This series sometimes went bi-weekly and then monthly, and then if there was a break week in between, it would go. You'd wait about 5 weeks to hear from it. Realistically, this is just an extra couple weeks from a normal monthly series wait. So I'm not crazy about the June thing. The June thing doesn't bother me. If the manga needs a break, the manga needs a break. They work way too damn hard in the East. I will 100% always be behind mangakas taking more breaks so we can read better content and they stay healthy while giving us greatness, right? So, no problem there. What I'm concerned with is this chapter was gonna do something that I myself have found very few examples that manage to make it work. And I'm hoping I'm wrong. But what does this chapter actually do? It gives us Yona dreaming, constantly dreaming, with the whole prophecy thing that nobody that I know that I've ever spoken to in any of the Yona Discord, on the Yona Reddit or anything like that, no one I've ever read or spoken to or anything like that has agreed that they're like, oh yeah, the greatest plot element that happened in Yona was her getting vision powers. You know, nobody seems to like that. At best, people are like, I don't hate it or love it. And at worst, everyone despises it. So, yeah. I'm, of course, in that latter group. And I've been very vocal about that. But this whole chapter is based on her constantly falling asleep and having visions of potentially, I guess, the future, right? We see one of these, where she's leading the army. There's no hawk, no dragons, and she looks dead in the eyes. But she's powerful, she's older, she's got the sword, it's the shot that we've seen before and all that stuff, and it's a badass shot, don't get me wrong. Yona's looking powerful, she's looking majestic, she's the queen, she's the boss, the king, the Shah. You know, she is 100% what Robin Williams sang Aladdin about, right? And I'm fine with that, 100%. But she's miserable in that vision. So that's obviously not the future we want. This is a fairy tale manga. We want a fairy tale ending. So obviously that's not going to be the real ending. So as a result, yeah, but the problem with giving her the whole prophecy visions is that now we have to almost take them as the gospel. The funny thing about the Gospels in like things like the Bible is that, do you know that like 88 different versions, there's like 88 to 90 different Gospels, and like most of them were rejected and only 4 made it into the current Bible. You know what I mean? So, because some of them contradict each other, you know what I mean? So the whole saying like you got to take it like the Gospel, like everything is true and factual. Then all of a sudden you get into the fact, well, yeah, but which ones do you listen to? There's like 88 fucking versions of the damn thing, right? So here's the problem with when Yona was having dreams and we were trying to interpret them and she was trying to interpret them, both in the universe and as readers, we're trying to see what is the dream trying to tell her? What is its meaning? And it's probably metaphorical and not literal and arbitrary. The moment they said, oh no, she gets straight up visions of this is the factual future, that's what's breaking this right now, because we know this isn't going to be the future. So she doesn't have prophecy powers. Or she does, and they're subjective. But that has a problem in and of itself, because it means that all the bullshit her mother said, like, this is the definite because I've seen the future, was preventable. Just nobody worked towards preventing it. See where I'm going with this one? And this is all based on the fact that I don't think that the vision that we saw here in the future is gonna happen. Legit. I just don't see it. But if it does, then I'm totally wrong about this. But I don't see it. So the only argument against everything I'm saying here is that the future she just saw at the beginning of this chapter is going to happen. Definitely. No ands, if, or buts. And I'm just not holding to that. And the problem is, it breaks it. You see? So this chapter is basically creating continuity errors. And that once again is taking me out of the feel of this chapter. If this was a big feeling chapter for you guys, it wasn't for me. Because it's continuity carpet bombing and retconning itself, breaking everything, all because they had to tell us you can see the future. Instead of just her having dreams that are subjective, that we don't fully grasp or understand from the dragon gods. No, you have straight up visions of the future. Yeah, shouldn't have told us that. Because once again, nobody likes the fact that she has God-given talent. And the fact is, by giving her the God-given talent, it's flawed now. Because of everything that's happened. Then she wakes up from this dream. And, she's there with Hawk and stuff. And then she tells us about a bunch of other dreams that she dreamed about. But we only saw one, but she dreamed about all these other ones. And it's like, well, okay. So now we're supposed to separate which dreams are real and which ones are the future. And then she's like, I don't want to sleep. And because Hawk asks about, like, have you been able to reach out to Zeno in your dreams again? Blah, blah, blah. Like, Hawk taking this all in stride, like the, boss that he is. Then we get a scene that normally would be enjoyable. But, oh baby, we got a bit of a problem. Just a small one. So she jumps in and sees a scene from the past with the 4 dragons and King Hiryu. It's like, okay. Because she wanted to see Zeno so much. She wishes, like, if I'm going to dream, let me talk to Zeno, let me find Zeno, let me be with him. And on a surface level, this all seems okay, because then a voice reaches out and says, take my hand, I'll take you to Zeno. And it was Hiryu himself, from the past, 1,000, 2,000 years ago, having... Okay, so now we're doing the whole metaphysical part, where time isn't linear. And now we're dragging Yona from the present into the future where only he can see, or into the past where he has already communicated with her in the present, but also in the past, which is technically in the future. Trust me, that sentence makes sense, but do you understand how I just used past, present, and future in a bit of a loop-de-loop? So we're already confusing everybody on how this is taking place. And then they do the thing that worries me. Now, this one isn't concrete, but it worries me. We're going to do the Terminator way of time travel. And by that I mean, to summarize, if you've never seen Terminator, what the hell is wrong with you? Go watch Terminator. But I'm going to spoil Terminator, okay? In Terminator, Sarah Connor is only under threat of death from a time-traveling Terminator because she is the mother of the guy who's going to save the world, John Connor. John Connor can't be born until a Terminator comes back to kill her because she's the mother of John Connor. Because the guy sent from the future to save her from said Terminator is the father of John Connor. Which, by the way, Terminator Salvation, big error, X, terrible movie, because the machines can't know in the future to go after John Connor's father. Kyle Reese is not a threat until Kyle Reese goes back in time. So, big continuity error there, but we don't talk about Terminator Salvation. Fact of the matter is that it's a time paradox. It's a problem, as in everything that will happen has already happened and will happen the way it's going to happen. So, no matter what, the Terminators, because of time travel, the Terminator and Kyle Reese always go back in time. Kyle Reese always has sex with Sarah Connor. Sarah Connor always births John Connor. The Terminator dies. Kyle Reese dies. John Connor is born and saves the world. That always happens. It's a loop. Basically, if time is linear, it's a loop that just happens and continues on, and it happens every time. It's a roller coaster loop. It doesn't break. There's no break in the circle. It's just a circle that happens on an otherwise linear level of time. And the problem is that that's what they're trying to tell us, is that this conversation already happened 2,000 years ago. But Yona needed to get to the point in the present where she has this conversation. Here you already had this conversation, and all this happened. And why the problem, I say that it's a problem loop, is that now she has seen visions of the future. A future that we don't, as readers, buy in. But by her own admission, by the reasoning that these future visions always come true, it has to come true. So she either doesn't have real future vision, we've been lied to, or, which is something that most readers didn't like in the first place, so why do it? Or this future has to come true. This all breaks due to this loop that just happens in this chapter, where she goes back and she actually talks to her past self, the reincarnation of her soul, the next incarnation, and he brings up, and here's why it's a loop. He brings up, Zeno's going to suffer, the dragons are going to suffer, I'm suffering. Everything is shit right now. Why should I let it continue? Why not let it all end right here, right now? Yona, who knows she has future visions, and has said, I'm not going to let any of these visions come true, literally at the beginning of this chapter. No, I'm not going to let any of this come true. I would hate that. Then, 5 minutes later in the following dream, basically starts cycle. So this is one of those, fate is predetermined and nothing we can do is going to change fate. And that only works at the literal end of a story. It has only worked at the end, as in this only works in the final scene of Terminator. It doesn't work if we know this in the middle of the movie, because we're not supposed to know in the middle. She has started the cycle. Hiryu wanted it to end. Zeno would die, the dragons would die, he would die. There would be no reincarnation. Nobody would suffer. The dragon gods, you're wrong, blah, blah, blah. She begs him, and says, no, we might share the same soul, but we're two different people. You can't let this happen, because, you know why? And this is what I hate about this. Yona is selfish. I know, I hate it too. Everything in this chapter has serious problems, okay? Because, alright, so if we go into the actual chapter itself, alright, and I'm going to read this verbatim. So she says, so Hiryu asks her, are you listening? You can hear me, my second half, yada, yada, yada. Said, I will lead you to the place you want to be. Said, you were searching for Zeno, but you ended up with me, and said you called for me instead. I made the wish to live a little longer, and then you appeared. So he made the wish to live past the Crimson Dragon illness. The reincarnation. So Yona is the end result of that. As in, he selfishly wanted to live a little longer so he could be with the dragons a little longer. And Yona is the end result of that. The reincarnation of the dragons is the end result of that. The dragon gods heard King Hiryu's selfish wish that started the cycle, right? And basically said, you want to live a little longer? Well, they did it it's one of those monkey's paws wishes. The hubris of your wish, right? Shikon Jewel from Inuyasha, same idea. This is all happening, the same idea. And I think I'm onto something here, because he says, so the dragon gods did give him his wish, just not the way he wanted. It was going to be reincarnation. And Yona is, I want to live a little longer. Yona is the end result of that. That is living a little longer. And the dragons would always, and he wanted to live a little longer with and for the dragons. So the dragons have to reincarnate, or in Zeno's case, be immortal and live forever. So that Hiryu's selfish wish could be fulfilled. The dragon gods listened. Herein lies the rub, is where you can argue Hiryu in the end caused all this shit. But he says, are you my next incarnation? If you're not, you can't go get them. Should I instead put an end to everything here? And he immediately says, then, maybe this is the wrong idea. Maybe I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't wish this. As in, he can end it all right here. Zeno dies naturally, the dragons never reincarnate, and Yona doesn't exist. He can end it all right here. However, of course, he can't. You know why? Because it's the time paradox loop. He's already talking to Yona. Yona can't exist if she doesn't convince him to not wish it, to not end it. So she, retroactively, in the past, creates the cycle and says, you and I share the same soul, but we are different people. I may not be who you wanted me to be, but please, I will come for them as many times as it takes. Your dragons and our Zeno, don't bring them to an end now. If you couldn't, you shouldn't. I will take into the next world. I want to be reunited with everyone again. So Hiryu is selfish, and Yona is selfish. Yona doesn't want to give up the dragons. Yona doesn't want to give up her people, her friends, her protectors, her dragons. So, because Hiryu was selfish, and because Yona was selfish, ting, fusion, ha! Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so I do have a quick edit to do right here after going over my lengthy review and stuff and all my bitch moaning and complaining. And I just felt the need to summarize it right here because I don't think I made myself clear enough. I go over this over and over and I still don't get the damn reasoning out. So I just want to do it right here just in case it goes over some people's heads before I get a ton of comments like explaining, oh, but you didn't, like, you don't understand and blah, blah, blah. So I just want to say the problem with the predetermined fate is that if it's predetermined fate, then it means that there's predetermined fate in the series, meaning that the future visions were going to either be subjective or not. But if there's predetermined fate, then the visions have to either be subjective or not. You see what I'm saying? Therein lies the problem. So we've been led on a bit of a wild goose chase, believing that the future visions have to happen because once you see them, they're in the fate cycle. But if they're to be defied, it means that every future vision that we saw is defiable and that people screwed up. People just didn't fight it hard enough, you know? Yona's mother and the people before her and Yona herself and the burning of Hiryu, because all the visions that have been seen are now under the microscope because either the visions are true and they're all part of predetermined fate and nothing Yona does matters from here on out because it's all predetermined, or she's going to break fate, meaning that the future visions are not concrete. We still have predetermined fate, but the visions weren't concrete because if you can break fate once, why couldn't you break it every other time? So just wanted to summarize that pretty much. That's all I'm explaining here in the video, in the review. So I just wanted to go over that really quick here, just in case it wasn't clear that that's basically what I take 35 minutes to explain. But and I do a very piss poor job of it, not gonna lie. But yeah, that's the long and short of it sort of idea. So continue enjoying the long version of this. Time loop cycle. They created their own suffering. They are the end result, and when Zeno finds that out, he gonna be pissed. But here's the thing. She then goes on to say, to make it happen, I will stand up to any future that comes at me. And Hiryu then agrees to this. I understand. I will leave you, the child by my side. I will leave this to you. And we jump through Zeno's life really quick in one page. Please go get him. And then she wakes up from the dream and says, yes, I'm going now. But once again, we have a problem here. Like this is what I'm talking about. God damn it, Yona. The manga as a whole. God damn it. Because you have so many continuity issues as a result of this that could have been solved. But now they're playing the whole predetermined fate, right? Yona is the reason. Hiryu and Yona are the reason that all this has taken place since chapter 1. It was predetermined 2,000 years ago that he would selfishly wish to live a little longer because he had the Crimson Dragon illness, and that he would live with the dragons. So once again, hubris of the wish, Shikon Jewel style, monkey's paw style, that whole style made it so that he would reincarnate, and so would his dragons, till that one day they would meet again. Now, of course, that was filled with pain and suffering, so a little bit of, maybe check your hubris at the door, bitch. So that's a thing. Then, because Yona exists because of Hiryu, now Yona comes into the fray and continues the problem. She didn't break the cycle, she started it, because Hiryu was going to start the cycle, doubted, and Yona, due to selfishly wanting, because now she's lived her life, which once again, this is all predetermined. It's hard to blame Hiryu and Yona, because now it's all fate. Now it's all fate's problem. But I hate stories where they don't defy fate, or fate is not determined. Fate is now officially in Yona. This chapter proves that fate is already predetermined. The problem with that is, that scene confirms it. Because they couldn't have had this conversation. The dragons wouldn't have been reincarnated. Yona wouldn't have been born. None of this happens if fate isn't the loop. That's confirmed right here. And I've explained it like 6 times already. So, once again, it's black and white. There's no arguing that point, that fate is now predetermined in the Yona series. The problem with that is the future sight bullshit. Is that Yona said she would fight against a future where she didn't have the dragons in Hawk. But then she subsequently says, I will fight against any future that doesn't allow me to have the dragons in Hawk. Hiryu did the same thing 2,000 fucking years ago. And that's what Zeno's trying to stop. And he's not wrong to try to stop it. And the other problem is that you have predetermined fate in the series. Now you've also told us that Yona has her mother's future vision. And the future vision is, you guessed it, fate. It's set in stone. It cannot be shifted. It cannot be changed. It cannot be delayed. So now we have to take all of Yona's visions as factuals that are going to happen. But that leads us to a continuity error, because some of her visions are just not going to happen. So now we're into the whole realm of, she either doesn't have future vision, confirmed, or none of them had real future vision, and none of them had the power or the willpower to defy fate. And now we're into the whole, we've had predetermined fate established in the series, but now we're going to, because it's the main characters and these are who we're following, now we're going to defy fate. And as I said, to use the Inuyasha Shikon Jewel as an example of how it can work when you have predetermined fate and then you're going to defy the future you've been shown, you're going to defy the fate that's been predetermined. It only works if it's an object, or if there is literally an omnipotent person or place or something that you can physically destroy. In this case, that's not the case. Like in the case of Inuyasha, the Shikon Jewel was predetermining the fates of people by using the hubris wishes. and just playing a chess game. But technically, a lot of people mistaken that. It wasn't really predetermined fate. It was all about the hubris of their wishes, and they got their wish in a very backwards way, just like Yona, just like Hiryu got. So, in that regard, they could destroy the Shikon Jewel in Inuyasha and get rid of the problem. The problem here is that you've already established that predetermined fate is a constant. You've also given characters future visions, which are concrete, leading into just confirming that fate is a constant. And now the only way out of that constant is to defy fate. And a lot of people on the surface level will say, well, that's our main characters. They're so badass, you know. I mean, I will be the first one to tell you guys that Hawk, the Thunder Beast, will take up his glaive and he will fucking, fuck fate. Boom! And it'd be badass. But it doesn't make narrative sense. It'd be cool. It'd be awesome if, like, the god of the universe of Yona comes down and says, I am the 4 dragons, I represent everything, and Hawk's like, yeah, I don't give a fuck. And cuts him down anyways. As awesome as that is, and 100%, 110% Hawk can do it. I believe in Hawk. Narratively, that's terrible writing. Right? So, from an unbiased, not, lover of Hawk perspective, this chapter is setting us up for so many terrible continuity errors. And I hate that they're doing that. It was unnecessary to do that. And actually, funnily enough, here at the end note, I like the predetermined fate, let's destroy fate idea. The problem is the cementing of it with the visions. Had they not given her mother and her future visions, then this wouldn't be as egregious. You could break fate. You could say, okay, fate has been predetermined, hence because once again the paradox loop. But it's like, well, I'm gonna break the cycle this time. I'm not gonna make the same hubris mistake that Hiryu made a second time. I'm not gonna make the same mistake. You could argue that, but in a world where you've determined pre-fate and you've established future vision as concrete, you can't just all of a say, because now we're playing a juggling act, and that's terrible narratively. Okay, so was the vision true? Was fate predetermined? Or are the visions correct? You can't have it both. Either they're both right, or they're both wrong. And that sort of breaks 2 whole entire plot lines, plot points, power systems, and a lot of other things narratively. So, yeah, does your guys' brain hurt? Because my brain's kind of hurting a little bit here. I'm going a little crazy. Unfortunately, I think this chapter, while on a surface level was like, oh, it's fun, she's back in the past talking to Hiryu. The moment you read more than 5 seconds into that, you realize how problematic this chapter just made the entire fucking series. And I called it when they initially said that her mother had visions of the future that were predetermined. And they seemed to work out. I was like, okay, but not. And then they've been hammering down that when they see something, it's the legit future and it can't be stopped. They've basically established the future vision is your preconceived fate. And it's not something changeable. And now that we've added the loop into the mix, she's seen visions where there are no dragons. There is no Hawk. She leads an army, she's older, and she's dead inside. Yeah. Unfortunately, I have a very negative opinion of this chapter as a result of that. Sorry to say, ladies and gentlemen, and right before a 2-month break. So Yeah, if I had more of a Yona following on the channel, I might like entertain like a live stream or something where you guys could comment or something like that live, and I could answer your questions, or you could make your cases or your arguments, which I'm sure you guys are going to do in the comment section down below. But as someone who is very learned, very well read in a lot of fiction, a lot of paradoxes, a lot of time, I'm a small time writer myself. And one of the biggest things is trying not to include paradoxes and time travel in the first place, because there's always something that doesn't make sense. Yeah, I can break just about every movie that includes time travel. I can point out a problem. And when you start adding that shit, when you start adding fate can't be altered or changed, and you add future visions, and you add, in a sense, time travel. So, anyways, but I hope you guys enjoyed the chapter, because clearly I didn't. But I wanted to make sure to read this. I read it twice, and now I sort of was going through it as I was doing this review. I'm sorry, guys. I don't think this, and gals, once again, I always forget that. Got a lot of female, I don't have a lot of female followers, but I have a lot of female viewers who watch the Yona. Obviously, it's a shoujo and stuff like that. So I always want to shout out the ladies and stuff like that, because it's always very appreciated that you guys take the time to watch my videos and stuff like that. So I just said you guys again, whatever. Anyways, the point is, I'm not going to get stuck on the pronoun game. I'll be here all night. So anyways, thank you guys and gals so much for watching. Nonetheless, even though I have a very piss poor opinion on the chapter and what it's going to bleed into, unfortunately, in my opinion, but that's what it is. Hope you guys enjoyed nonetheless, and maybe you enjoyed the chapter far better than I did, and I hope you did. I really do. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe as always, or dislike. Feel free to dislike if you fundamentally disagree with the whole damn video and I'm just a pompous prick. You're more than welcome to do that too. But anyways, that's it for me. Hope you guys and gals all have a great weekend, and we'll see you back here next time. I guess sometime in the middle of June, I guess it'll be. But from this point on, just have a good one, and we'll see you guys and gals back here for the next Yona of the Dawn. That was a fair enough. That was pretty good. Sometimes I do a few takes, but I think that one was okay to leave in. Yeah.